Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Today's topic, I wanted to discuss how to run under a sub 2:19 marathon, and I think it's important too to make this video because to run that fast it takes enormous effort, and I wanted to share my own story. Hopefully it's helpful to you. I ended up running 2:19:35, so not quite a sub 2:19 marathon, but it was definitely close enough to at least share with you, and hopefully this video is motivational to you, regardless where you're currently at. I'm an athlete that didn't have a great deal of talent, but I had an enormous amount of work ethic. I started running in 1992 when I was 15 years old. I didn't run 2:19:35 until 2007. So think about how many people you know that are willing to go after a goal that takes them that long. Most people are just simply not willing to work that hard for that many years in order to go after a goal that fast. I think anything that you're going after, if you're committed enough and you're consistent enough, you're going to achieve. But to run a sub 2:19 marathon, it's an extremely aggressive pace. You're running around 5:18 mile pace or around 3:15 kilometer pace for 26.2 miles or 42.2 kilometers. When I first started running, I never envisioned myself running marathons. I ran my first marathon at the 2002 New York City Marathon. It was for lung cancer research. It was a charity run. I was a part of an armed forces team, so the sports director at the U.S. Army World Class Athlete Program, headquartered out of Fort Carson, called me up and said, "Hey, would you be willing to be a part of this team? It's going to New York City. You're basically going to start in last place, and as Chase Manhattan Bank will donate $1 to every runner that you pass." So basically, it was a great opportunity to go out to New York City. They put us up in the Plaza Hotel for a week, and I ended up finishing as the team's top finisher. I started in last place, 32,189th place, finished in 257th overall in 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 36 seconds. So that was 2002. It wasn't until 5 years later that I was able to lower my PR down to 2:19:35. So anybody that's trying to run a sub 2:19 marathon, has to have an enormous amount of work ethic. You have to have some form of talent. I did have a small amount of talent, but I had a ton of work ethic, and I had to make up for the lack of talent that I did have with the amount of work output that I was willing to put in. And just like anybody else, anybody that you see doing something phenomenal and that makes it look easy, they make it look easy for a reason. They've been doing it over and over and over again. Maybe you're an introvert and you see somebody that's a public speaker and they're just great at what they do. They look like they're just totally at peace with what they're doing. They've had a lot of practice to get to a point where they look comfortable at what they're doing. So just know that to run sub 2:19 for the marathon will take several years. It's not a matter of you're not going to achieve this goal in a matter of weeks or maybe not even a matter of months, depending on your talent level. If you're extremely talented and you have equal amounts of work ethic, you may be able to go out and run a sub 2:19 marathon with your talent plus the hard work that you've put in. But most athletes don't have the capability to run a sub 2:19 marathon and achieve that type of time in a matter of months. Sometimes athletes have to work their entire careers to run a sub 2:19 marathon. Like I said, it took me from 1992 to 2007 to run 2:19:35. And then I spent another decade from 2007 roughly to around 2018 trying to run a sub 2:19 marathon because, as of just past a couple years after the 2008 USA Track and Field Olympic trials for the marathon were held, USA Track and Field changed the standard to 2 hours and 19 flat, so a sub 2:19 marathon. I think now it's sub 2:18 flat is the USA Olympic trials A standard time. Back in 2007, when I ran 2:19:35, the Olympic trials B standard time was 2 hours and 22 minutes, and the A standard time was 2 hours and 20 minutes flat. So it was highly competitive then. It's still highly competitive if you want to compete in the Olympic trials and earn Olympic trials standard. So for me, running 2:19:35 was pretty much like making the Olympic team. And so if you're wanting to run sub 2:19, and you're currently, say, a 250 marathoner, don't think that this is impossible. Or maybe you've run 255 or 302 for the marathon. Maybe you're above 3 hours for the marathon. It's not impossible. Just know that to go from a 250 to a sub 219 marathon, like I said, it might take a decade. It may take 5 years. It may take a few years in order to achieve it. But you have got to spend sufficient amounts of time training well below sub 5-minute mile pace and well below 3-minute kilometer pace. Because again, to hold 518 mile pace or around 315, 316 kilometer pace for that entire distance, you have to have a very high level of lactate tolerance. You have to improve your body's lactate tolerance. And again, faster paced long runs were one of the biggest reasons why I was able to go from 243.36 to 219.35 for the marathon. I got beyond just running long, slow, and easy every single weekend. Yes, that will definitely build your endurance. You have to have the endurance in a marathon, and especially to run a marathon this fast. But if you're spending too much of your weekly volume at too slow of a pace, all it's going to make you is a highly effective, very strong, long, slow distance runner. Athletes that are going for a sub 219 marathon are nothing but great at what they do. This is not a average marathon time. It's an elite time that only a few marathoners achieve around the world each year. You know, even when I broke 220, there was only 63 men in the United States of America that broke 2 hours and 20 minutes in 2007. So, you know, it's a country out of 350 million, only 63 men broke 2 hours and 20 minutes. And there were even fewer that broke 2 hours and 19 minutes for the marathon. So, yeah, there's nothing easy about breaking sub 219 for the marathon. Like I said, that was a goal that I had after I ran 219.35 because the standards were changed. I was still part of the Army World Class Athletes program at Fort Carson up until 2010 when I departed for when I left the unit. So again, to run sub 219 for the marathon, you have to have a very high efficient capability to clear lactic acid faster that's building up and to be able to sustain pace at a very efficient speed for very long periods of time. You have to focus on hydrating well in your long runs, in training, as well as in the race itself. Look at any of the world-class marathoners around the world, and you will notice they grab their water bottle and they will sit there and run with it and drink. They are not sipping in the race. A major mistake I made over the years in the marathon was I was sipping in the race, thinking that a few Dixie cups worth of fluid was going to be enough for me to, finish 26.2 miles or 42.2 kilometers. What you do not want is to become dehydrated before you even know it. And you have to also train the body to burn fat at race pace in order to run under a sub 219 marathon. You have to teach the body also to conserve what it has much less of, and that's carbohydrate. So it's very important to make sure that you're teaching the body to conserve what it has much less of, which is carbs, and be able to call upon that glycogen storage at the end, at the latter stages of your marathon, especially if you're trying to run 219. Again, this is such a highly aggressive pace. You're running right around 518 mile pace, right around 315 to 316 per kilometer pace. So very aggressive running. So you have to spend enough time each week training well below these types of paces so that, again, you're becoming much more efficient at clearing lactic acid faster than it's building up. You're paying attention to the other variables that I talk about. Mental training, make sure you are training the subconscious mind to go after what you are aiming for. It has to start in the mind before it ever becomes reality in real life. And all the world-class athletes that I've trained with over the years, they know the importance of mental as well as physical training. They don't place all their emphasis on just physical training. They also focus on mental rehearsal. And if you watch any world-class skiers or world-class runners or world-class athletes in general, sometimes you'll see them with their eyes closed prior to the start of their race or prior to the start of their competition. They're seeing themselves moving in the way they want to move in the race and performing at a high level as they're, prior to starting their event. So this is very important. It's one piece of the success principle that I cannot stress enough for athletes that are trying to run a sub 219 marathon or trying to run fast at any distance, regardless of what your goal is. You have to see it in your mind first. So I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. Definitely let me know what your current personal best is for the marathon and what your long-term goal is, if it is a sub 2:19 marathon. So I wish you guys all the best, and I'll talk to you in the next video.